Hi class, welcome back. So now we are going now to continue our lesson here in Contemporary World. So now we're going to have another new lesson and the title is The Global Economy, Its Impact on Me. So again, my name is Ms. Celine and let's start. Alright, so for our learning objectives in this lesson, we are going first to dissect the economic development during and after the World War II. Second, to explain the history and the formations of the Bretton Woods system. Third, to examine the purpose of the WTO. Next is to determine the functions of the IMF. Next is to assess the operations of the World Bank. And lastly, to identify the role of MNCs in the global economy. Now let's start. So now let's talk about first the economic development on World War II. So we have the following terms and the following significant events during the World War II. First is what we call the autarky. Autarky is the turn inward of a nation in order to become as economically as possible. So autarky, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but autarky is in here wherein the country or the nation is now putting all the resources for themselves so they can preserve the economic downturn during the World War II. So as all you know, during the World War II, the very big war back then is actually every nation is on war and everyone is being selfish on their country. I mean, they are preserving their own lives rather than the whole humanity. So they are looking towards on themselves. So during the autarky, when we say autarky, this is the time wherein the people or in each country and in each nation, they're actually looking towards themselves only. They are not thinking of others. Next is the term depression. A worldwide economic depression in the 1930s, a result of a lack of cooperation among nations. So again, what happened in the World War II is that people or countries and nations are against each other. It's between allies and then allies versus allies. It's been between huge countries against each other. So the term depression is very significant back then. It's because this is the time when resources are no longer available. People are no longer sharing to each other. They're not giving to each other. Right now, we have the terms import and export because people are actually exchanging their goods to other countries and actually selling them. But back then, it's called depression because it's the time of great poverty. No one is around there to help each other. No one is around there to actually sell each other unless you're a part of their team during the World War. Next, we have the Bretton Woods system, which I will also discuss later. Bretton Woods system established a system of payment based on dollar or gold. So this is a system of paying, but later I'll be discussing more on that. Okay, now speaking of Bretton Woods system, let me just read first the slide and let me just explain afterwards. Bretton Woods system directly or indirectly related to the creation of other global economic institutions like the WTO, IMF, and the World Bank, to name a few. So WTO and IMF will be discussed later on. So Bretton Woods system, it is a system wherein now there's a use of the paper, the paper of a dollar or a gold in exchange of goods. So this is now the system where now we have the pesos here in our country and also dollars in other countries, yes, and pound, yen and pound and other exchange of goods. It is the use of money. So that's why a lot of institutions were built because of that. So we have the WTO and IMF. And also the World Bank is also institutionalized and begun because of it. So thanks to the Bretton Woods system. All right, so before I also continue, let me just emphasize that the Bretton Woods system becomes institutionalized. But before, even in the times of the Egyptians, the exchange of gold is very evident. The exchange of specifically of women back then or children as slaves and many more are also evident. But this time with the use of Bretton Woods system, it is now the exchange of money or gold. Okay. All right. Now let's go to WTO or the World Trade Organization. So I've mentioned this a while ago. We just used the WTO instead of World Trade Organization. Now let's talk more about it. So the World Trade Organization, here it addresses issues such as as international trade in services, trade-related international property rights, and trade-related investment measures. So the WTO is an organization that was built and was very rampant during the World War II, because in here this is wherein the trade is very evident. There is a trade in the rights, trade in the investment, and many more. So before, during the war, or during the times of there is a war, the exchange is actually by land. So if you won a country versus a country, now you will take over that country. Now with the use of the WTO, there is now a good relation, a very good way how to actually process things. So you cannot right now you cannot just stay in a land and then claim that land. So that will be illegal right now. With the help of the World Trade Organization, here every trading will be done in a very systematic and with the due process. Next is we have the IMF, or the International Monetary Fund. International Monetary Fund. So it promotes macroeconomic stability for both of its member nations, and the global economy. It deals with exchange rates, balances of payments, international capital flows. With the International Monetary Fund, in here, this is now the exchange of money, how much money in a specific country is actually exchanging to the money, for example, in America. So like, for example, in here, $1 is $1 in America is $1 here in our country is now equivalent to 56 pesos, and many more. So the International Monetary Fund is the one who actually manages both the national economy and also the global economy. They're not just looking on the global ones. They're also looking towards the minute and also the very small nationals. So in here, they are the ones who balance everything. So a country cannot just produce money. I believe there is one country which they keep on producing specific money, wherein literal money payment, literal paper of money. They keep on producing that. They look at money differently. Back then, they look at it as a supply and demand. So right now, their money is below value, very below value, and because of that, their economy crashes. So with the use of IMF, this is the one who balances everything, and they are the ones who actually gives the idea that certain amount of money will only be released, a certain amount of printing will be just released to balance out everything in the economy, not just in the national but also in the world. To continue, the IMF, we have the term the austerity. The demands to require a nation to devalue its currency or reduce government spending on health care and other social programs to reduce public debt. So like what I've mentioned a while ago, the IMF is actually the one who balances everything, not just in the national level, but also in the the global rather. So when we say austerity in here, they are the ones who actually devalue the money. That's why my example a while ago, there's a country back then, I believe that's in Asia, wherein they provided a lot of paper money. They underestimated the value of exchange in the market exchange in the marketplace. So that's why they provided a lot of money. They gave a lot of money to the people, and then boom, it crashed the economy. Now their money values lower than the average. Like here in the country, their money is low. Here in the Philippines, if you exchange their money, the value of our money is much greater than their money because of that. So in here, the IMF, they are the ones who sets that standard rather, who set the standard to devalue everything, devalue their currency based on their exchange on the global economy. And then not just only that, because they also the ones who gives out that they have certain spending, specific, like for example in healthcare only, and there are also the social programs. This is to actually help the economy, the national economy, to cope up with the debt of the world. They have their debts. Like here in our country, we have a huge debt towards the World Bank. So that's why we are we are now in the third world country because of our debt. So in here, the IMF are actually the one who helps us to reduce our debt by helping us to balance out things within our country. But this is the international this is at the international level, as something an economic expert can actually explain this further. But at the hindsight, or the when you look at the from the outside perspective, or from our perspective, let's not just look at the outside. From our perspective, this is the role of the IMF. They are the ones who balances everything, and austerity is one of them. Okay, I was talking about a while ago the World Bank. So we have the World Bank here. So the World Bank encourages development of productive facilities and resources in less developed countries, like improving transportations, telecommunications, and water projects, etc. So if I mentioned a while ago that during here in our country, during the Marcos's time, Marcos, I believe Marcos, his father, not Bongbong Marcos, actually borrowed money from the World Bank, and that World Bank and that money is now used. Is the ones that are being used to make the infrastructures like the Heart Center, the East Avenue, a lot of facilities that is now famous and being used here in our country is because of the money that is being borrowed in the World Bank. But I know it's a debt. Okay, I know debt is. Here in our country, if you say debt or utang to your friend or anything, that's bad. But before, if you borrowed money in the World Bank, it will actually help you increase the economy. It will actually increase the exchange of the the economy here in our country. It's actually good. If you borrowed money in the World Bank before, it's actually good. But the problem is that during the administration and after the administration, the payment in the World Bank, the debt payment in the World Bank was not possible. It did not happen in the following administration. It was said to happen during the Aquinos, Ninoy Aquino's administration, but it's not enough. So it kind of helped the economy rather, when he paid some of the debt. However, it's not enough to actually pull out the economic status of our country to second or first world country. We're still in the third world country. That's how big now is the debt that we have in the World Bank. So again, the World Bank is actually just helps us to build transportation, telecommunications, water projects, and many more. That's now widely used in our country. It's actually useful, but it's not if you weren't able to pay for it. The World Bank deals now with a broader range of issues related to economic development, such as population, education, health, social security, environment, culture, and poverty reduction. So before, World Bank helps us with the infrastructures, it helps the economy, but right now it's actually much bigger, it's actually broader. It now helps on the economic development of the country as well. They are now willing to actually give you, to borrow you money to help your economy grow. The population, they're willing to help with the population, the mortality the mortality as well, the education, the health, security, environment, culture, and poverty reduction. They actually helps. The World Bank is there, and it actually helps. I'm not sure if our country is still borrowing money with the World Bank, but if they, it's actually very much understandable, because the World Bank's job is actually just to do that. So that's how the World Bank is. So a lot of countries, not only the Philippines, has a huge debt in World Bank. A lot of countries as well. The strategy of the World Bank is actually good. That's why right now a lot of countries are under the huge poverty line because of that. So we have the regional coalitions, its role in the global economic system. So here are some of the famous events that happened before. So the European Union has 27 member states. So during the World War II, it's actually very much evident what are the union before. So now it has 27 members. It has the largest domestic market in the developed world. So it adopted euro as their basic currency, except UK, Sweden, and Denmark. So Europe is actually a huge country. It's actually not euro because that's the currency, but the European European Union rather. It's the European Union right now. It's very massive. They're actually very huge. Um, these are uh, these are very famous countries that provided great investments, and also they are the ones, the Gucci. They are the ones. Um, uh, they are the ones who provide the very important goods that we receive right now. So actually, Europe, European Union, not just Europe, European Union. It's union. It's a group of countries. Actually, it's a small countries grouped together. It's not just small countries, but they're the group together because of their ties and bond together. They were able to actually conquer a huge portion of the world economy. Next, we have the North American Free Trade Agreement, or the NAFTA, removes the barrier to trade and investment. So the NAFTA is actually an agreement wherein it now helps a lot of trading in the market, in the world market. So it actually releases us from different barriers to help our economy as well. And actually, in some economy, it doesn't help because it will just give them more debt and more pain in their economy. We also have the OPEC, or the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. OPEC increased the oil price and they became rich. So here are most of the countries are from the Middle East. These are the countries who belong to this organization. They are the ones who actually control our oil. That's why our gas now here in our country is very high because of them, unfortunately, and also because of the war between the Ukraine and Russia. Okay, so here are the emerging economies and some of the key players that are now growing massive, not just in their country, but also it affects the global economy. So we have the Mexico, Brazil, Chile, Russia, China, India, and Vietnam. So China is always there as well as Russia, but they are now the ones who are actually starting to boom more after the pandemic, and also not just after the pandemic. Actually, a lot has been happening after the pandemic, but also during the World War as well, World War II. So they are now continuously booming. So as you can see, China is here. Because of the pandemic, a lot has changed. A lot of countries have dropped their economy, but others are resilient. So these are some of the countries. All are active members of IMF and WB. So as you can see, they are from the International Monetary Fund and also in the WB. So I've mentioned a while ago that our country, Philippines, actually borrowed from the World Bank, so it's not included in here. Our country is not included in the key players, but we actually are. I believe we belong, and we actually have debt in the World Bank. All right, so now let's talk about the MNCs. They are the multinational corporations. So strong actor in economic globalization. So multinational corporations, now let's talk more about it. So MNCs, these are corporations that operates in more than 2 countries. It has the power to coordinate and control operations in more than 2 countries, even if they do not own them. So MNCs, that's why it's called multinational, because it doesn't have any single nationality where it belongs. So multinational countries are, these are countries where, I'm sorry about that. These are organizations that does not reside in just one country only. They are not, like for example, American country only. They are not Russian country only or European country only. It has a lot of nationalities, so that they actually are the big contributors in the economy today. Like for example, here we have the Microsoft. So MNCs rather, its power. So we have 61,000 MNCs in the world today, so that's a lot. 900,000 affiliates. They account for both a tenth of the world's national product. So as you can see, that's how big they are in the contribution to the world. About a third of total exports. They are the one who exports as well. So they are exporting in our country as well. And then 96 of the total of the top 100 in the developed world. Okay, so they're in the 96th spot, wherein they contribute a lot in the world as well. And in speaking of transnationality index, It has three indicators of companies' geographical reach. So they have foreign sales, foreign assets, and foreign employment. So they are also employing different nationalities from different countries to coordinate and to cooperate and to make the organization work. So that's how MNCs, so how they powerful are. So corporations right now, so why are they being encouraged to become multinational? First, greenfield investment involves the building of totally new facilities in another country. So that's why it's called greenfield investment, because it has greener pastures out there. So you have to invest there, build your own company as well in there, and has a connection in other countries as well. Merger and acquisition, example in Chrysler, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Chrysler Corporation acquired by the German Daimler-Benz, now dissolved. So merger and acquisition, when you are merging into another multinational company that makes a bigger company, multinational company, or acquisition, buying something, like for example, there's an issue before that Yahoo is being, Google wants to buy Yahoo, but Yahoo declined the Google. Now Yahoo is gone and Google is overpowering. So if the Yahoo allowed themselves to be sold to the Google, Yahoo is now still available, but no, they didn't. So they did not allow themselves to be acquired by the Google because they believe that they can still manage themselves. So that's why Yahoo is now gone, Google is there, and it's now booming. I mean, I believe Google is the number one surfing browser right now. So that's like an example of merger and acquisition. We have the strategic collaborations, gain access to specific markets and technology sharings, risk, costs, and uncertainties. So in here, because of multinational organizations, you will not only know what's within your scope, you will also know what other scopes outside the organization, your country, and you will know their culture and how they handle risk, costs, uncertainties, and also market strategies as well. So Dickens says about MNCs, no matter how transnational they become, they continue to have the aroma of native land. So what good about multinational companies, even though they reside in different countries across the world. They reside in India, in the Philippines, in other countries, and many more. Even though where they reside, no matter where they are, they were able to adapt that country's culture, and actually they were able to let their employees feel that specific culture in that company. So it's actually an open system culture where everyone culture is allowed, and it provides inclusivity as well. He adds, transnational corporations' diversity, not uniformity, is the norm in today's world. So in here, as you can see, Dickens encourages, not just Dickens, but MNCs organization. That's why they're powerful. That's why they're booming. That's why they're actually providing huge economic growth in our country. Is because of its diversity, its embracement, the way it's embracing inclusivity. So economic globalization, is it a myth? So most companies continue to be based in nations in terms of assets, production facilities, and sales. So there's no massive shift of investment and employment from advanced of developing countries. So that's why economic globalization, they are thinking, is it real, is it not? Because there are still evidences that it shows that it's not. Like for example, in the first one, so economic status in a specific country, their assets are the same, production is still the same, facilities is still the same. It just continues, and nothing has changed. And then next is there's no massive change or shift to any investment and employment. Everything is just the same. So it sounds like a myth. And then foreign direct investment, or FDI, continues to be made mainly in the advanced industrial economies, not in less developed countries. So that's why it's called a myth, because it just happens on the advanced countries, but like for example here in our country, it doesn't happen, it doesn't occur, it's not evident. So that's why they say that economic globalization happens only for those who are rich countries only. The rich becomes richer, the poor becomes poorer. So that's it. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something from this lesson. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on my next lesson. Thank you. Bye for now.